What's up, CardsChat? This is Matt Vaughan. Welcome to another hand breakdown video. By now you guys should know the drill. I'm going to break this down, talk a little bit about my process, and try to figure out if this player took what I think was the best line. First of all, thanks to FunDiver199 for posting this hand and also giving me a great welcome as the new CardsChat ambassador. He said he watched my first video and saw that I want to do hand history reviews. He has already posted this hand in the forum, but posted it in my Ask Me Anything thread as well, and that's totally fine to do. I'm happy to review hands that have already been reviewed elsewhere and just give my take on them. This hand is the second hand from a $1650 Turbo PKO, so Progressive Knockout Tournament on PokerStars. Since it's very early, everyone still has the same starting bounty, which is $3.75, and the opponent is basically a total unknown. So we're playing a, reasonably small buy-in on PokerStars, and it's a very fast-paced one. So everyone's pretty much got the starting stack here, about 167 blinds. We are basically one ante below starting stack here, so literally second hand. Hero is under the gun +1 with ace-8 suited and opens to 90. Totally fine with this. I think that the sizing is good. I think that early on in the tournament, at these deeper depths, we're definitely going to want to use slightly bigger sizes, 3, maybe even 4 big blinds here. 6 players fold and the big blind calls, which makes sense. It's the person we'll be heads up with the most often. And just glancing at the stacks, it looks like we have equal stacks to start the hand, so either of us can win each other's bounty. We come to the flop, which is a beautiful ace-jack-9 with 2 spades, obviously very above average for us here, and the big blind chooses to lead out for half pot. Actions on hero, and really, obviously, the only decision here is whether to call or to raise, and if we raise, what size. I think that players make a lot of mistakes in spots like this. They flop top pair with an ace, and they have the nut flush draw, and they think automatically I have to raise. But not all nut flush draws with top pair are made equal. When we have ace-8 specifically here, we will often, if we get a bunch of money in, be against a better hand, something like ace-9, ace-jack, jack-9. And if that happens, like the value of our ace basically is 0, right? We can maybe hit an 8 and be good, but besides that, like it's just not that many outs besides the spade. So we kind of end up reducing the value of our ace to being 0 and kind of just devolve this hand into just being a flush draw. And that doesn't mean that it's a weak hand. It doesn't mean that we couldn't play a flush draw this way. But given that we also have the pair with it, I'm inclined to face this lead just through a call. We can get value from worse flush draws by just calling and stringing them along, getting some implied odds. We even have some sneaky backdoor straights we can make. So I'm really kind of liking the hero's decision to just call the 116 here. So that's what he does. Turn is the 10 of diamonds, brings a possibility of one of those sneaky straights, and the big blind leads again for half pot. As far as like what the big blind is representing here, I think that in general they're representing just an ace, maybe a couple of draws, some of which come in here, and then a couple of like weird second pair type hands that pick up a straight draw, bottom pair that picks up a straight draw. We do block that, but I think that it's highly possible. For kind of the same reason on the flop that I liked just calling, I think that we can just call the turn here. I think it's a little more plausible now to consider raising just because the opponent sort of is representing a somewhat more polarized range now, and the value of our ace diminishes significantly on this card versus like on a deuce, tray, 4, 5, 6, where it's really going to improve the opponent almost never with their air. Here, some of their air improves, so I think that you could make a little bit more of a case for turning this hand into a bluff. But the problem is when they do improve, they often improve to a hand that can't even fold to a raise. So I like this decision to call. Let's go forward to the river. The river is the 10 of spades, which pairs the board, but also brings in the front door flush draw, which we have. The big blind now lead jams for 5x pot, 4,554, covering us. Or rather, being tied with us, I guess. We kind of both cover each other. So the issue here, of course, is that, yes, we've made our strong hand, but they are now representing an equal, if not stronger hand by jamming all in. The issue at play is that on a paired board, and one where we said a hand like Jack 10 or 10-9 maybe could conceivably play this way. A hand like Ace 10 could certainly play this way. Maybe pocket nines could play this way. We're not really feeling great because there are hands that beat us. And when an opponent bets 5x the pot, they're saying I'm super polarized, meaning I have very strong hands and then just pure bluffs. And it's kind of hard to even manufacture the bluffs that they can have. Now, part of the problem too is that a lot of their bluffs on flop and turn would be flush draws, but I'm not sure many players would really take a line like this with, say, a flush draw that's not a straight flush at this point, given that we have the ace of spades ourselves. And when I said before that I felt he's maybe representing a hand that's equal in strength to ours, that's kind of what I mean, is like, I don't think players really do this with 6-5 of spades. It's just a little too weak for the most part. Now, it's certainly possible to be wrong, and there are some weird ways this hand could be played that could lead them to having a strong hand, but one that we beat. Certainly hands like 6-5 of spades, it's not out of the realm of possible that they do this. Even a hand like King 7, King 8, actually we block King 8, King 7, King 6, maybe like King, I know King Queen of spades is a straight flush. So yeah, so a few King X of spades are out there, but not that many. And they'd have to play them this kind of peculiar way for us to be good. But the problem is, like, also, there's just not that many hands that would play this way that do beat us. So, hands like Jack 10, they'd have to play it super weird. Hands like 10-9, they'd have to play it super weird. Ace 10 is probably the most plausible for them to play this way. And there's only 4 combinations of that. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I think we might just be a little too high up in our range, even if we can't really figure out what they're doing this with. The peculiar size, while very scary, I think is a little bit too suspect. And even if it's hard to manufacture bluffs, who knows? Like maybe they have King Queen with the King of Spades or King Queen with the Queen of Spades, and they just get here and don't really know what to do, so they just shove. They don't want to bet call. They don't want to check call. This is a smaller tournament. People sometimes do really weird stuff, and who knows? It's a bounty, so people could sort of do this expecting us to call off a little lighter than normal because we could win their bounty. There's all sorts of levels here. So most of the time, we actually don't end up getting to know what the outcome is, but in this instance, we do. The hero ended up calling, and the big blind actually showed Queen 10 of clubs. This is a hand class I didn't really consider, not so much because they wouldn't bet the flop or turn this way, but because I didn't really think that the river would get played this way. The opponent's line here is just way, way, way too big. Their bet size here is just going to force us to pretty much always have better when we call, and turning this hand into a bluff on their part makes absolutely no sense. Plus, without the ace of spades on the board, we ourselves have a ton of ace X of spades combos, and I just think the opponent is massively overplaying their hand. I think this is a good line from the hero on basically every street, and yes, they were right, it is certainly a fun one. So I hope you guys enjoyed going over this hand. Remember to post your hands for me to review in my Ask Me Anything thread on the CardsChat Poker Forum. And I'll see you guys all in another video very soon.